Hey there, how's it going? This is Chris. Okay, I'm going to get busy on this bit and this bit, so I'm going to hide everything else. Okay, and this will give me a place to go from. Now what I've got to do is I have to put some detail on these parts here, okay? Sorry about that. So what I'm going to have to do is basically go around my model. Just hit F4 there so you can see it a bit better. I'm going to go around my model, adding in areas that need detail and basically making it look, well, better, if you know what I mean. So, no time like the present. Let's have a look at this. I'm going to start down here with this part. Just here and here. And this is quite an interesting little shape I've got to make, so I'm going to do an inset. Just bring that into, ooh look. Now that looks like an incorrect part selected. Let's do it again. There. Autosave. By the way, if you're wondering why I sound a bit rough, I feel like shit today, so I do apologise, but this really ain't great. Right, so with that done, I'm going to click Grow, deselect this part, and this part, hit Delete. Okay, so now I'm just working on these bits, and there's a reason for that, which I shall show you in a moment. Okay, next I'm going to just use Extrude, because I'm going to go straight up, no risks, to about there. Then I'm going to come up a little further. Now I'm going to use a bevel, which I will bring into there. Okay, so that's a good start. Now, what am I planning on doing with this? I shall show you. First of all, left viewport zoom. I want to just have a quick check and make sure that I have everything I need on this, and I do. So, if I was to group select these, like that, and then deselect. So I've got my control key held down this time, like that. Perspective and zoom. And you're probably thinking, well, why? And it's so that I can do an extrude, and I'm going to do it by local normal. Just bring it straight out. Now the first thing you're probably going to notice is that it's not really a straight coming out kind of cross shape, it's more of a Celtic cross shape, and also we've got too many parts selected. So I'm going to click X on this and deselect some of these bits. Now I can't really hit shrink because that won't work, so I'm just going to have to manhandle my way around the model. On the plus side, however, we will get a model that looks nice by doing it this way. It's always a good bonus. There we go. Okay, just been kindly bought some cold and flu meds. That's just why I'm pausing and muching in the background. One of each. Right. Now I'm going to do this extrude. So go to my extrude tools, and again you can see that I've got this from here. So now if I go to my left viewport and zoom, what I'm going to do is just select this and this. And you notice I always marquee select, and now deselect these pieces, and that way I've just got the ends. Thank you. And now I'm just going to squeeze them in. Remember my hideously boho trick of using the jaggies from our anti-aliasing, and then if I just scale it down on one side like that, voila, the job is done. Okay, now I can do it again over here. like that, and then deselect these middle bits and just bring them in. And then flatten this part. There, and that's all that was needed for that one as well. Okay, that's going quite well. Now what I need to do is jump back into perspective, because I've got to delete off the back facing parts of these. So if I go into select mode and just use back polygons here, I can then get them out just by doing this. Now the problem you've got is the same problem I've got, okay? You're thinking, the leg's nearly finished, and if you know a bit about mechs, you'll know that doing the leg, especially the foot, is obviously the hardest part. And you're going to be tempted to think, I'm going to rush this, I'll get it done, it'll look fantastic. Yeah, well, don't rush it. If you rush it, you're going to end up ruining your model. I've done this too many times myself, so I know exactly what happens. So, take your time, okay? If it means that it's going to take you an extra couple of hours, or even a couple of extra days, just, don't rush it. Because once that leg's done, you have the basis of your entire piece. Hell, even if you just stop at the legs, quite frankly, you've got a really bitchin' piece. And don't forget, as well, we have the armour that we have to put on the legs. I mean, at the minute, they're just completely exposed. And putting on the armour is going to be quite a fun bit. You're going to be able to use a lot of your artistic judgment and a lot of your own style here, because, I mean, this should be your own piece. I have no objection to anyone following these tutorials and then using them as, the basis for your own models and your own show reels or anything, really. And this one, there we go. So that's filled in all those, and now all I need to do, I mean, I could even go like one step further and fill this gap here and have these kind of countersunk, so it makes it look a bit like it's what is it again? The kind of negative space that you get in Transformers and things like that. In fact, hang on, I'll demonstrate that. So, because I think that'd work quite nicely in this anyway. You see, the thing is, even though my original kind of outlook on this piece was that I would base it upon various references, including, Warhammer Knight, Dreadnought, the Crux, the APU, and various other pieces. I like the idea of being able to add my own twists and my own kind of parts very much to this. So these kind of spokes here, as long as they don't ruin it ergonomically, and remember we talked about that in the previous lesson, there's no reason not to do it if you think it's going to work. So for me, I'm suddenly taking a kind of change in direction slightly for this. Not massive change in direction, don't get me wrong, this will still be a very tough looking unit. But I quite like the idea of having this negative space that I know Josh Nizzy talks about it quite a lot in his mechanical concepting sets. And he does some very valid concepting sets, they're very worth looking at. Okay, now I'm gonna just go through these. And click cap. Okay, so that gives us that nice shape there. And then I'm going to do the same again here. In fact, I can just click Control A, to be honest, and just cap it like that. There we go. Reason being that I've got these nice big spaces here now. And what I can do with these, if I just select them, so I want to be careful. I don't want to just smash the negative space straight through. Negative space, that means hole, by the way. Okay, just go there and then do a bridge. And now we have these rather nice holes through here, which look like they're going to add, a lot of cooling and stuff to this. They're not going to add anything to this, but that's not the point. We can make people think that it is. Okay, so we've came quite a bit of a distance through this, so now what I'm going to have to do is a bit of chamfering. So if I double click there, and I just want to come around my model, And this is a selecting edges nightmare, because this isn't really something that you could tell 3ds Max, look, I really need, you know, only these certain edges to be selected. I always have a problem with that. Max doesn't like being told what edges to select. It has the equivalent of a 3ds Max tantrum. So, sure, it's going to take you an extra 3 or 4 minutes. It might take you less, it might take you longer. Okay, but for God's sakes, don't rush it. Get all these edges, because they will look so much better once this is done. And remember, we need to do both. Now, don't obviously freak out about, you know, having to do both at the same time. Just do them one at a time if you want. But just make sure you do them. Okay, so I'm going to go through all these. Now, as I'm not concerning myself with having to use subdivision or anything like that, I can separate it off. I'm going to have to do kind of 4 pieces of subdivision here. I'm going to have to go around the outside of this one. Remember my rules, by the way. I know you're thinking, I wish you didn't have those rules, Chris, right now. And that's fair enough. But I do try not to skip things, unless it's literally going to be 4 hours of me doing this. In which case, I'd consider it. But even then, only consider it. Okay, so I'm going to check over my model. There, I haven't selected that edge, or that edge there. Hit F3. That'll let me see all my selected parts. There we go. Okay, that is good so far, except for this bit, which isn't. And that part. There we go. Okay, that's fine. So next I am going to chamfer. There we go, and that'll be enough. Just to soften the edge. And then if I select this one and do control select by edge, I can chamfer that one as well. Hit F4 and you can see it's softened the edge nicely. Like I say, ignore the weird jinky kind of shadows there. We just fix those as we go along. Okay, now, remember we have to come back and do this side, and you can see the difference. Soft, hard. And I know it's supposed to be hard surface modelling, but not that hard. Oops, wrong one. Do each piece just as we see them. It'll be a lot faster once we've done this bit. The thing is, I've done it before. I mean, when I was first starting chamfering, I was like, oh, what harm can it be? I'll just do a control A and chamfer everything, and that way everything's chamfered. Yeah, don't do it that way. Because, one, poly count. I mean, I know polygon counts aren't really that important anymore, even for games, but your poly count will go through the ceiling. 2, okay, your model will look like shit. Like complete and utter toss. And then you'll feel sad. It's like using the Greeble plugin. Now don't get me wrong, the Greeble plugin, fantastic tool. Okay, not many people use it anymore, but it was like one of those 3ds Max tools that's just phenomenally useful. And for just applying detail, like iterative first levels of detail that you could build on. But some people used to think, oh, we can use that for everything, just build a boxy spaceship, smash Greeble on it, voila, Star Destroyer. It does not work that way. And I know that because I was one of the people who thought, aha, smash it on, voila, Star Destroyer. There are shortcuts in 3D, but there aren't many. And you still have to have good knowledge of 3D, a good knowledge of shapes, and a good knowledge of what kind of works where. Otherwise you're going to bugger it all up. Okay, chamfer. A quick walk around my model. I'll be able to see anything that broke when I do this. That's fine. Now this one. And again, control select by edge and chamfer. Click tick. I'm going to just drink this amazing Alka-Seltzer stuff. Thank you. Right. Next up, I'm going to do this. Now we have some harsh shapes inside here, so one of the things I can do is kind of reduce those if I want to. I don't think I do though, because if you look at things like what I've based this on, which is basically just the inside of a brake, you know, mixed with a hubcap, you tend to get quite sharp shapes on those. The ones that are really round tend to be from the like Fiats and things like that, and they don't look as nice in my most humble experience. So I think we'll use this shape instead. Okay, so if I just do a chamfer here, click tick, and I can do them one at a time. Okay, now go in here and here. As you see, that one's ringed, so that's kind of helpful. So I'll just get these inside edges. And you can, like I say, if you want to, just round out the inside. Just remember to clean up your polygons when you're done. Otherwise it will not look nice. You see, the thing is, with our feet, a lot of the detail we were putting on was things like the massive amounts of pistons and things that we were using. With this one, we don't really have a massive pistons. I mean, we can stick them on by all means, but in a lot of cases there's no point. There you go, you see, that's how that looks so far. So instead what I'm going to do is apply detail through little things like this, and little things like building up bolts and nuts on the outside of things and stuff like that. Right, so we have that, and that's kind of worked, which is cool. Now I'm going to save this off as, I always like to save my workbench, as you know. There we go. This thing, workbench, has saved me a whole ton of trouble, because of course your auto backer gets written over 3 times, and then you lose your piece that was auto backed, because it kind of dumps the old one, so it's 1, 2, 3 back to 1, 2, 3 and so on. Okay, so also I've noticed these things appearing here. I don't know what they are, but they're like little magic mushroom things. Hello, little mushroom things. Anyway, God knows what they are. Sorry about that. Okay, so what I need to do now is get myself a box. Standard object box. And I'm going to drag it out and pop it in the right place. Okay, which is about here, so that I can see where I'm supposed to be building. Okay, and the idea is that I'm going to build, I don't know what those things are. I'm going to build some bolts on top of this that I can then obviously apply onto this. For this I'm going to need, therefore, to make a fair detail piece. So I'm going to start with a cylinder, and I'm going to use auto grid, and I'm going to give it a negative height, pull it out so that I can see it, and then delete that. Okay, so next we have this 18 cylinder, and I'm going to right click, convert to editable poly. The reason I made it negative, obviously, is so the pivot is where this flat piece is. Now if I select this flat piece, Control I, that'll select everything else and delete. Now we just have this bit, okay, which is a good place for me to start with. And as it's nice and large, as you can see, it means I'll be able to use chamfering and beveling and stuff like that without it basically zooming all over the place. What I mean by that is when you chamfer, and it chamfers too much when you're chamfering small objects. Okay, so bevel. A little bevel like that. Actually, before I do, let's bring it in a bit. a little bit, because then I can do the bevel in like that. And then down. And then in again. Not too much, but that much. There we go. Okay, that gives us a good starting place. Now, from this, I'm going to basically have a bolt come out of it. So, I'm going to inset it, just manually like that. And then, because this is 18, I believe, in sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yep. I have a problem that any bolt I want to put onto this isn't going to be nine-sided if I decimate it by 1, or I can just cheat, which is what I fully intend to do. So I'm going to take a second cylinder, and this time I'm just going to draw it out by auto grid, just any old place, and give it a positive height. And this time 1 height segment, 1 cap segment, and 6 sides. There we go. And I'll turn off smooth. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to align it to this one. There we go, on the X, Y, and Z. So now, with that one and that one basically on top of each other, what I can do is adjust this. So, if I turn my radius, just increase it, just until my bolt in the middle of this is about there. Okay, that works. Now, what I can do with this is I can either merge the two objects together, which is quite a good idea, or leave them as they are, which isn't that great an idea. And I'm going to turn off realistic and edged faces now and turn it straight down to shaded, because it's a little bit easier not having to fight with all these weird shadows. So I'll take off this back polygon, and then on this one, with it all selected, Control A, and I'm going to chamfer these bits. Now you may be thinking, well, aren't you going to take the back off first? No, not this time. Okay, so chamfer once, chamfer twice. Okay, so that gives us this rounded bolt head here, and at the back where this is, I can now take this off and then do some bordering. So if I do a bridge, well, before I do a bridge I should probably attach the two together. There we go. And now I can do a bridge. One there. Do another one down here. Okay, and select these two parts and cap. Now, there's a little bit of overlap on that, but that's okay. Nothing that's going to cause me any bad and unpleasant dreams. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab that and grow. Just wait for autosave, it'll catch up. There we go. Now, I don't want to do too much, so shrink it again. Bring that up. There we go. And now this piece is aligned the right way, and our piece is smooth, or it will be once I've applied a smooth modifier to it, like so. Turn on auto smooth and change this to about 22.5. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, right click, with it selected, convert to editable polygon. Okay, and now end isolate and unhide all. Reason being that I want a copy of this bolt sent to our tools library, where I shall call it detail bolt. It's probably detail bolt 2 at this point, and I'm going to align it to this one, including its orientation, and then move it over here. So now we have these bolts in our collection, and this one's going to make a big difference. This one's a good bolt. So again, if I just select these parts and isolate them. Okay, and now something I do need to do with this as well, actually, and I'll do that while I'm in the left viewport, is move the pivot point. Now if you remember the splendidly technical way we moved the pivot point last time, we can do more or less the same thing here. And we can fix it up later, just as long as it's in kind of the right place, you know. There we go. Okay, and looking at this, and then looking at my original model, I think I'll turn this back to realistically shaded again, just because I prefer the look of it. Okay, now I want to use my object paint. I'm going to get my list, and I'm going to pick that. Now I'm going to paint on selected objects using my objects in the list. So that works fine. And I'm going to make sure it's this one. I'll go to paint. There we go, you see, it goes straight on. So, the good thing is we've got all these lovely edges here that I can use as a reference. So if I just stick it in the middle there, and then there, and there, I'm just going to do 8 on each of these, like so. Turn it around, do the same again. Now you see that one's a little bit off, and people may notice, so I do like to clean them up a bit. Keeping on how long I've been recording for. Reason being is that if these things get a little bit too long, they can get a bit laggy. I mean, it's worse if you're doing game dev stuff, to be honest, but you know, just in case. Okay, now I can turn that off, turn it back on again, and turn the scale on this one to maybe 75. And you can put a bloody great big bolt just there. Positioning right, and there. Okay, so we've got these nice big bolts going around the edge of this fella. Okay, I'm just going to click out, close my pick objects down, and go back to this one. Okay, so I'm going to use my rotate tool and just start rotating a few of these. Just don't even need to rotate all of them. Basically every other will do. Like that, and come round. And the good thing is that once these are attached, this is going to look like the daddy. Maybe not you're the daddy, but you know what I mean. Just remember to add a little bit of variation to your bolts, because no one's nuts look alike, you know that. I can't believe I just said that, but it was funny. Okay, so with this fella here selected, let's go and attach its little friends. Take those ones. Those ones. Okay, now into the select tool, and I am going to start basically removing all these. And the good thing is that I'm not going to need to do any chamfering, because I already did. All I need to do is just basically cook these into the rest of my model by using bridges. So that's this side. It should be anyway. Yep, it is. Right. So Now I'm going to go into bridge mode. Change this. Still wondering why it's not deleted these faces. Oh, with a cap here and here, and it lets us bridge it. So a very strange thing. This is. I'm going to have to pause and have a look, I think, at what's going on here. Might need to reload my model actually. If it's going to be like this. So I think what I'll do is I'll reload my model and come back in a minute.